Yeah, so we played Capture the Flag. And I think we were playing like Capture the Flag or Tag or something once, even at school one day. And I remember like one of the first days I was there, there was some kid we were supposed to like pull the flag off him or something. And he ran up really fast and like pushed me and ran off. That was Solly Halpern. And I was like, whoa, that kid's on another level. He was like really athletic and he was like running faster. And I was like, all right, cool. Because I felt like I was the only kid who was athletic, who would like actually run fast. It seemed like all the other kids were like weak. They'd run slow and stuff, you know. But I was like, cool, another kid who can run fast and stuff. But yeah, but like we also made this one thing, this like fort out of like all this sticks leaned up against a tree, and then filled it up with like hay and stuff. And we went in there under the direction of Jonathan, the leader. But like after the winter, and it was there after the winter, but then we were forced to tear it down. The teachers told us to tear it down because it became like a nesting ground for all these bugs and stuff, and they thought it was like not hygienic or something. And like the older kids like had one off in the distance, but like they didn't let any of us and young kids know where it was. It was supposed to be like a secret or something, so I never saw it. And a lot of the younger kids, they'd like collect like bugs. They'd have these like little glass containers with all these different spiders and stuff in it, and I was like, wow, man, nice job. And I think the leader of the group above me, the kids older than me, well, there was Gaysar. He was the son of Rinpoche. And then there was Vajra Rich. He was the son of the regent, who was like the second in command dude. And I think he thought he was like the leader too. Because I remember once he couldn't get these kids to go to like work on the fort with him, and he was all pissed off that they wouldn't listen to him. And I was like looking at him in the glare of the sun, so I was doing like this, and he's like, "Don't smile at me!" Like he thought I was making fun of him for kids not like listening to him. I was like, "Okay, dude, whatever, man." And yeah, and let's see, talk about other kids. Well, I mentioned Solly Halpern. I spent the night at his house one day, and I tried to teach him how to ride a bike. Like, even though he was really athletic, he didn't know how to ride a bike, but he had a bike, and I was trying to teach him and push him down, but he lost interest and didn't really want to know. So, and he had a sister there, but she was younger, so we didn't talk to her. And his mom like made me. They were doing chores, and his mom like had me help out the chores. And I didn't really like that. But yeah, he lived up north near like North Boulder Park. And then oh yeah, and then like Claire's. Oh my God, I can't remember her last name. Claire. Claire lived like near me, cause her dad lived right around the corner from me on the same block. So I hung out with her all the time. And once the school went on a school outing skiing at Eldora, and it was before I ever went skiing, so I must have been like 7, because I went skiing for the first time when I was 8. And she crashed and broke her leg. And so I visited her and like signed her cast. And I didn't go that day. I don't know why. Like I was sick or like my parents didn't let me or something, but I didn't go. And there was this other outing that the school did where it was like ride the inner tubes down the river, all the way down Boulder Creek. And like, but before we did it, we had to prove that we could like ride the inner tube underneath the tunnel. And like we went out there and I didn't want to do it. I felt like it was dangerous, and so they didn't let me do the tube trip, but I didn't really care anyways for some reason, even though it was a cool little adventure. Yeah. And then another year, I don't remember how many years I went there. Maybe it was like first grade, second grade. I know I went there first and second grade, so maybe it was just first and second grade. And then I went there fourth grade. But like one of the years we had a woman teacher, and we were on the upstairs. And we were learning the multiplication tables. And I was the last person to memorize all the multiplication tables along with Jeremy King. And we went out, like the thing was, once you learned it, like the motivation is the teacher was going to go and buy you an ice cream. So she took us down, the two of us, to buy us an ice cream. And I wasn't really interested in that whole multiplication table thing. And other kids were, like some of them learned it right away and were like, yay. And I was just like, I just wasn't into that. And I guess I was kind of a spaced out kid because I was always getting in trouble for like not paying attention or something like that, because I was always getting punished. And my punishment was I had to get up in front of the whole class and tell stories. But I was kind of like the class clown. And so I would get up there and I'd tell these stories I'd make up stories about how I was like superhuman. And like, I'd get all like animated and talk really fast and loud and like, be like, yeah, you know, they needed me to like, save the world. So I got in this like F-15 super jet, man. And but like the jet didn't have any wheels on it. So like we had to use our legs to get the speed going. And then we took off and like there was no floor in the jet. So like my friend fell out, but I had to grab him, and like all the kids were like rolling in laughter. And they were like, and so like every time I got in trouble, their kids were like, eventually they were like, get in trouble, Kyle, tell us another story. And so she eventually had to stop using that as a like a punishment, because like I got to the point where like we all wanted me to tell a story every day. Like one day, we were playing, like, there's this one thing we did is where we would like stack up these like little like wooden, you know, like pieces on these big like fortress type things, like block buildings, and then we'd like, you know, sit on the other side of the room and throw the other pieces at him and try and knock him down. And once we had this really tall one, man, that was like 2 feet tall. And I threw a block at it, and it knocked one of the blocks off on one of the, like the things that held the support. And the whole thing, it knocked the block right out, and the whole thing fell down on top of the new block, and it didn't fall over. And we were like, whoa! That was totally crazy. And it was about that time there, and I started skiing all the time, and I was like writing stories, and I guess because one of our things would write stories and tell stories, and I was really good at storytelling and writing. And I would like write about skiing, and I was like, yeah, man, I ski all the time, and I ski this and I ski that, and I'm the best skier and all this stuff. And I remember it like pissed some kids off because they were like jealous, and the teacher was like, don't talk so much about skiing, or don't say so much about how good of a skier you are and stuff. And I was like, what, man? I'm just telling. And why did they get pissed off at that? But yeah. And oh yeah, let's talk about some of the more of the kids, because that's interesting. There's this one girl, Naomi Weber, and she was like tall. She was the tallest girl. And her dad was a doctor, Phil Weber, and I think he was my doctor. And she had a brother named Aaron, and he was a year older, and she was just as tall as him. But anyways, she had this like hair ties on, these really pretty hair ties that would like tie her hair, and she had a different one every day. And I remember going every day and looking at her hair and being like, okay, trying to see if I could recognize a hair tie from another day. And she literally had a different hair tie every single day in the whole year. She must have had like hundreds of them or something like that. And then there was this other girl, Megan Susness. She was really weird. Like, I don't think I ever heard her talk. I mean, she was really like, she was one of the girls. None of the girls made fun of her. Like, she was protected by all the other girls. But she was like, never talked. And if any of the guys tried to talk to her, because she was like feminist or something, she only liked girls. And I don't know, maybe it turned out that she ended up being a lesbian. But she like, if you tried to talk to her, she'd go, she thought she was a cat. And she would like, and like hiss at you. So you'd be like, all right, I won't talk to you. But she was really smart. Like, she read all the time. And so she would like win all of the fucking spelling bees. She knew how to spell like perfectly. And but yeah, one time we had to do like meditation for 10 minutes every single day, where you have to like focus on the wall, on like one point on the wall, and just like not think. And we did that every day. It was like, because it was like a Buddhist school. And one time she, I guess, didn't know that she was allowed to get up and pee, so we looked back and she We're sitting there, and P was falling off of her chair onto the floor, and then she started crying, and the teacher was like, oh yeah, no, if you have to pee, go pee. But, oh yeah, and then there was another girl, Rachel Fulton. And then who else? And then there was that other girl who was a good runner, and she was only there. She was like a late shower-upper, so I don't remember her name. I'm sure there were lots of girls. Then there was Cara Baker. But like Cara Baker, I think she was a smart girl too, but her parents bought her she was like 1 day older than me. She's like born December 26th and I'm born December 27th. And she like, for her birthday, when she was like 10 or 9 or something, her parents bought her a black Pooch 10-speed. And at the time, I had a 3-speed bicycle with a banana seat. And I rode that thing everywhere. I rode that thing from my house on, Baseline and Broadway, all the way down to Table Mesa on the bike path, and then up this hill all the time, like back and forth. And I mean, there were bike paths around like the cemetery and like behind the cemetery, and I just ride all over the place. And I remember I thought that was cool because like all the other kids, their parents wouldn't let them go more than like a block from the house, but my parents didn't care. They let me ride as far as I wanted, so it was fun. And but she got this 10-speed, and I was like, all of a sudden I was like, wait, I can't have a girl have a better bike than me. Like, that's fucked up. And she was happy to have it, but she wasn't like totally like bouncing off the walls. And I was like, man, fuck this. So I went over and I told my parents, I was like, man, there's this fucking girl has a 10-speed. What the? And until then, I thought I was the coolest kid because I had a 3-speed bike. But I was like, I need a bike, a better bike. And so my parents took me over to the Schwinn store on 28th Street. That doesn't exist anymore. And I bought the same exact bike that she had. Only mine was red instead of black. And when we showed up there, they were like they said that they had the bike races, the Red Zinger Mini Classic bike races, and so I was like, so my parents were like, you want to do it? And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm doing it. So I signed up for it. It was that summer, so I was 10. But yeah, that girl, Cara Baker, she like, I guess she was, her parents were friends with Jonathan McKeever's parents. And so they used to be best friends, but before I showed up there, I guess they had a falling out at a restaurant, and like he pushed her down the stairs because like she like embarrassed him about something. So then he decided he hated her. So like because of that, like all the guys were supposed to hate her. So like I was supposed to hate her. And I remember once I was hanging out with Claire. What the hell was Claire's last name? Anyway, Claire. And like Cara was hanging out with her, and like so my mother was like taking care of us and driving us around, and I was like refusing to talk to Cara because I wasn't supposed to, because Jonathan said we weren't supposed to. And I remember Claire was like, you don't like Cara? And I was like, no. And Cara's like, I want to go home. So my mom had to take her home. I felt really bad about that afterwards. That was a dick move. That was like the only dick move that I've ever had as a kid. I was a pretty cool kid. I guess I was just too loyal to Jonathan. And one day he like gave away his leadership. Because one day we went running around, like following him around, and he was a good leader. He was a really cool kid, like making like designs in the rocks. And like, who stayed behind? I think it was Jeremy King and Solly Halpern stayed behind, and or maybe it was Solly Halpern and Noah McClellan, and they like stayed behind, like working on the fort. So when we came back, Jonathan was like, all right, I'm not the leader anymore. These guys are the leaders now because they stayed behind and like played with the fort. So like they were the leaders for a little bit, but then I think he got his leadership back just naturally because everybody wanted him to be the leader. So it's kind of funny. But, oh no, I'm out of time.